You know what it is, First Take on a Tuesday. Good day, people. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith, Molly Karam. How we doing, gentlemen? I'm good.
Right?
Yeah, I'm ready for another show. There's a lot to dive into, right?
Let's go.
I think you all know where we're beginning. That would be the topic on everyone's radar yesterday, both in and out of sports. Colin Kaepernick choosing to sit during the national anthem. Donald Trump weighing in on Kaepernick's silent protest.
I think it's personally not a good thing. I think it's a terrible thing, and you know, he'll maybe he should find a country that works better for him. Let him try. It won't happen.
So that was the Donald with some harsh words. Hillary Clinton has yet to comment on the Kaepernick subject. Max, what do you make of his comments?
Well, it's certainly true. Kaepernick can look around and won't find a better country than this one. I think we can all agree on that. But that's partly because he doesn't have to stand for the national anthem. I mean, it's pretty difficult for Trump or anyone to argue that you dishonor our nation by exercising what many of us consider our most fundamental right, or our most American right, our First Amendment right, our right to free speech. How do you dishonor the nation by exercising that right? Seems to me you're honoring an American ideal there. And the America love it or leave it crowd, which here Trump is stating that kind of sentiment, I think totally misses the point. Instead of America love it or leave it, how about America love it, so change it? That's been the history of our country. Those who really love America have consistently changed it for the better. And it's, you know, you want to point to all the reasons why we're the greatest country in the world. That may be first and foremost.
I respectfully disagree with you, and here is why. Although I'm certainly not going to co-sign the mentality that Republican presidential nominee, Mr. Donald Trump, conveyed, just like we applaud Colin Kaepernick's right to say what he said and to take the actions that he take, we have to respect the fact that there's a whole bunch of people, millions upon millions of people in this country that feel exactly the way that Donald Trump felt. I don't feel that way. You don't feel that way. But what really makes this country great is the fact that you have people who are such staunch advocates of what they perceive America to be all about, that as a result of it, this is the stance that they're taking. I mean, I don't care who you talk to. I spoke to so many people yesterday, okay? I spoke to people from the African-American community. I spoke to Mark Levin, well-noted radio conservative host, who actually I like. I think he has a great radio show. I listen to him all the time, just like I listen to Joe Madison in the morning all the time. I like both extremes because somewhere along the way, you're going to find a strong level of truth, and I respect that reality. And when you listen to these guys and they talk about the military, they talk about our armed servicemen and women, no matter what Colin Kaepernick says, they believe it's a slight against them. You've got people from the African-American community calling portions of the Star-Spangled Banner racist, looking at America's history and its braggadocio,
the original lyrics.
The original lyrics and what have you, and they've got a problem with that. You have people in modern-day society, from the white community specifically, who believes that our Star-Spangled Banner, it personifies who we are. You know, it's about sports. It's about winning, because you're talking about World War I, you're talking about Civil War, you're talking about all of these things that come into play when you think about the Star-Spangled Banner. So if that's their mentality towards it, then somehow, some way, what are we getting to here? We're getting to what this country is supposed to be about. We're so quick to tell people what they should say and what they should do and how they should do it. I actually spoke to my friend Bryant for Fox News this morning. I've known him for years. He's good friends with one of my bosses at Sirius XM. He was talking about how Colin Kaepernick should have done it this way. I'm like, who says? The epitome and the personification of a protest is forcing you to pick sides. You are either for him or against him. While we applaud what LeBron James did, while we applaud what D. Wade and CP3 and Carmelo Anthony did, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with what they did, and them being mega star athletes with the wealth that they've been able to accumulate, the fact that they were conscientious enough to put their names and their faces and their voices attached to such an issue and to be front and center, we have to respect that and applaud that. But let's not forget the fact that while we applaud what they're doing, everyone applauded what they were doing. There was no dissension whatsoever because nobody could argue with anything that they said. They talked about black-on-black violence. They talked about violence against police officers. They talked about the Orlando massacre where the gay nightclub folks were killed there. You talk about all of those different things. So they're saying eradicate all of that. Who could disagree with that? Nobody could disagree with that. But when you think about Colin Kaepernick, look at the kind of emotions he has evoked. Look at the kind of conversations we're having all over the place about it. This is what it's about. And so when we sit up there and we get a reaction like that of a Donald Trump, people are going to be up in arms, appalled by that, but then quick to say what he should or should not have said. Hell with all of that. Let Donald Trump say what he wants to say. Hillary Rodham Clinton, when she speaks, let her say what she has to say. Let Colin Kaepernick say what he has to say. Let's everybody debate it, because somewhere along the way, what we're doing is by engaging in this level of dialogue, you're going to get closer to the truth, which is one of the things, that's one of the biggest reasons I'm proud. I shouldn't say proud because, again, I would not have done it. I would not have refused to stand for the national anthem. But what I like about the protest itself, the meat of it, is that Colin Kaepernick has provoked a national dialogue. And one of the things that we have a problem with in this nation, we dance around stuff all the time, but we have a real big problem talking about things and bringing our issues to the forefront. Even when we explain something, we're scared to say what we really feel half the time because in fear of retribution or how people are going to respond. Damn all of that. Say what you feel and why. I'll say what I feel and why. And as a result, we'll find the truth somewhere along the line, or at least some kind of accord. I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem. I don't think anyone does with Trump or anyone else stating their opinion. But
I think
as you said, if you're talking about choosing sides, then you actually have to analyze the content of the opinion. Colin Kaepernick came out and said, this has nothing to do with the military. And I know there are many who will say, well, the song is essentially a military song, the Battle of 1812, the War of 1812, sorry, and commemorating an American victory. And so there are inextricable ties to the military. Okay. But the song has also changed over time. You mentioned the original lyrics, which could be very offensive to black people or people with a conscience. And we don't need to get too deep into the lyrics. The point is, the song has changed over time, like America has changed over time. And so for many, the Star-Spangled Banner simply represents America, not just the military, but I think it would be safe to say our country. And you should show allegiance and respect to the country. But for others, including Donald Trump, has a problem with apparently Kaepernick protesting anything about America, apparently. But for those who would say that that he's disrespecting the military specifically by not standing for the Star-Spangled Banner, when he specifically said this has nothing to do with that, I'm actually protesting police violence against people of color. For them to insist, no, you're disrespecting the military, suggests that they get to say what his intentions are. I mean, if the flag represents so much, does it also represent the civil rights movement? I would argue yes. If he doesn't stand, is he somehow disrespecting the civil rights movement? I certainly don't think that's the case. I mean, so he is allowed to pick and choose what it is he's protesting, what to him the Star-Spangled Banner represents at that moment, and make his intentions clear. And his intentions are being rejected by those who are protesting his protest.
Yeah, but they're being rejected by folks, and folks are tripping over that. What I'm saying is the objections are what personifies America as well as the protest. If you're Colin Kaepernick and you want to take this stand and you initiate and provoke these responses because of the actions you elected to take, let's not just sit here and judge Donald Trump or anybody else because they said what they had to say.
But you have to judge them based on the content of their point.
What I'm saying is the content of his point is simple. This is how I look at it. When he sat up there, when Donald Trump sat up there and said, find another place to go, find another country to go to, right? You might find that abhorrent. Here's the reality. Tens of millions of people feel that way, which is why I've been telling people for weeks, shut the hell up. Everybody be quiet. Let people speak, because that's how we find out what America is all about. You want me to tell you the biggest reason why America has the problems that it has most of the time? Because we've gotten so politically correct that we're fearful of retribution, of ramifications for our words and actions. And therefore, everybody is sitting up there trying to protect themselves. We've got everybody thinking about their brand. We got everybody thinking about their money. What's going to happen down the line? We got athletes that's making tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that are literally scared. What the hell are you scared about? If you already have enough money to feed not just your generation, but a generation of your family members behind you, but you're still scared. That's the mentality. And so when you got somebody like Jim Brown, who shows up on the NFL Network yesterday and talked about how he supported Colin Kaepernick 100%, what did he say? I would not have done that. I'm thinking about this country, how proud I am to be a member of this country. He's also thinking about the doors that it'll open for the enemy to exploit some of the things that we open ourselves up to because we complain so much about certain things. But we are right to complain about it because it's valid if you take into account specific communities. That's right. You take into account specific communities. But at the end of the day, the fact is, we want people to sit up there on both sides and speak up. How can anyone give their
opinion if everyone's shutting up? People talk, and then you said yourself, you take sides. You judge the content of what they say, and the America love it or leave it crowd has always, to me, missed the point.
You're missing a point with love it or leave it, though. Some people are saying it's the right message, it's the wrong delivery, that the message got diluted, and now people are bringing in troops and other things. If he's about police violence, why not go to a police violence rally and specifically focus on that?
Well, that's an opinion.
But I'm saying he might have heard.
Why would someone else to choose his protest?
Hold on. Listen. They can have an opinion. When I tell people, when I'm saying shut the hell up, I'm not saying don't have an opinion about what somebody does. I'm saying be quiet long enough to let them express themselves. Don't sit up there and muzzle people because then you never find out what people's true colors are. You don't know what you're getting, and then you find yourself in trouble.
In this case, I don't think Trump, of all people, is being muzzled. He sent a pretty clear message. America, love it or leave it. And I'm saying, no, America, love it, so change it. And I'm simply expressing the counter view, which is that Colin Kaepernick is showing love of America by trying to change it, by operating within a system that allows you to change from within.
Well, listen, I agree with your point about if you love America, change it. I agree with that point. But I don't agree that Colin Kaepernick is showing his love for America. I think he's showing disdain for America. He may have a right to do that. I don't mean by right meaning right to protest. I mean, he may have valid points with some of the things that he's pointed out. I'm here to tell you right now, as a black man, there were some points that when he brings up, violence by police officers against the black community, that is valid. There is no question about that. But I would have liked to hear, I am with Jim Brown, who, thank God, echoed what I have been saying for months. The bigger issue for me is black on black crime. I don't care what anybody says, but that doesn't mean to dilute or diminish or dissipate the argument that Colin Kaepernick was making.
Stephen A., why did you think that this might not have been the best way to deliver the message, and why did Jim Brown think it might not have been the best way? Because clearly you're for the message, but why?
The reason why the message is fine, I just would have preferred that he not refuse to stand for the national anthem, is because I think it opened itself to the floodgates of people bringing up our military, our servicemen and women. And you're not winning that argument. You're not winning that battle. Instead of focusing on police brutality, instead of focusing on the trials and tribulations and the iniquities exacted against those in the African-American community, now we're debating how respectful or lack thereof he was towards our American servicemen and women. And there is nobody with a soul who can justify that. I'm a proud American. I'm a black man. Don't make no mistake about it. But I love this country. You know what I'm saying? There's no place else I would rather be. And I definitely think we should always honor our servicemen and women. And anything that comes across remotely as not honoring them in that way, I'm concerned.
The problem is that's a catch-all to intimidate people from protests.
But I'm not accusing Colin Kaepernick of doing that. I'm saying because of the manner in which he chose to protest, it gave critics and cynics the license to interpret it that way. I think if he had thought it through better, he could have come up with a better way to send his message, to galvanize more people
rather than divisive.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe. I think that's debatable. I don't know if we want to debate that right now because, I mean, suggest how else. It's not up to the observer, I don't think, to insist upon what the protester is protesting, if the protester makes explicit what they are protesting, why are we then attaching all these other things to it? And when the military is brought up, and the Star-Spangled Banner is much more than just a hymn about a military victory by the United States now, it is our national anthem, so it represents our country, and if he wants to pick and choose what about the country he's protesting, I don't think it's our right to insist, no, in fact, you're not protesting X, you're protesting Y. He's explicit about what he's protesting.
It's not right, but it's reality, and you have to take into account reality because the ramifications that await for your action, that await your actions, are something that you're going to have to deal with. And as a lot of times, we sit here and we encourage people to just act, but not think about the consequences. Sometimes, unfortunately, you have to be a bit calculated. Sometimes, unfortunately, you have to think a little bit more before you act because you want to make sure that your message is heard loud and clear in the fashion that you want it heard.
Well, except that I'll tell you why that's not the case.
To galvanize folks. That's all I'm saying.
But I'll tell you why it's not the case, because this is something active you have to do. You have to stand up for the national anthem. It's socially...
You're saying no one has to stand up.
Well, but it's socially compulsory, and there's workplace pressure also in this case, not only societal pressure, but in the NFL, and actually workplace pressure to stand up. So that's something he actually has to do. His protest is by not doing something that there is social pressure to do. It's not as though he's protesting by forming a picket line somewhere. He's simply not engaging in behavior. I don't, so to say that his protest is out of bounds, he said, my conscience won't allow me to stand up for this. That is an active piece of behavior he's asked to do.
We discussed that yesterday, and we both agreed. We both agreed that it was perfectly within his right to do it, and people were misinterpreting his actions. What we're talking about right now is Donald Trump and ultimately his reaction. And what I'm saying to you is that just like Colin Kaepernick had the right to do what he did, even though I know you're not disputing that Donald Trump has the right to say what he said, you have millions upon millions upon millions of people who are going to feel the way that Donald Trump expressed.
Millions upon millions of people's feelings are often wrong. They're you say feelings are wrong, but the premise of their feelings are wrong.
The premise of their feelings, etc. All I'm trying to say is that you, as a community willing to stand up and support Colin Kaepernick, have to be prepared to deal with that kind of backlash. It's almost like it's just like being 2 or 3 steps ahead of something. You don't just find yourself, you don't throw yourself into the fire. What you have to do is be prepared to deal with some of the ramifications. We didn't see that coming. Colin Kaepernick didn't consult with anybody, according to him. He thought about it. He studied it. He did what he felt was right. Some could make the argument that, these questions that are going to be asked. The opening of the football season is the week of September 11th. Ultimately, our military servicemen and women are going to come into the fray. His teammates are going to have to answer these questions. They're going to be bombarded. People are going to sit up there and say, well, you have some who agree with him. There are going to be others that sit there and say, this is a tremendous distraction for other folks. Did you take that into consideration? Did you think about those things? All I'm saying is I don't have a problem with it. You don't have a problem with it. But we're not in a line of fire the way some of those other people are going to be. And that's something to take into consideration as well.
There are always good reasons to not do unpopular things. That doesn't mean the unpopular thing is the wrong thing to do, or that it's not important to do it. And when Trump or anyone else essentially makes the statement, America, love it or leave it, we all agree we wouldn't rather live anywhere else. This is the greatest country in the world.
Some people say otherwise.
Well, I disagree.
Not us, in that case, I disagree with them.
The 3 of us would disagree with them, as would many others. Most other Americans, the vast majority, hopefully. And yet, one of the major reasons that's true is because we can sit here and say that, and you are not free to say that all around the world.
Yes, sir. Well said. Strong debate to start the show. First take just getting started. When we come back, we're going on the field. No Peyton, no problem for the defending champs. The Broncos are ready to go with Trevor Siemian, but will he lead the Broncos to another division title? Oh, Tony Romo. Out for 6 to 10 weeks, but will he be the starter when he returns? The answer might surprise you. We discuss that when we come back. San Diego made it public that Joey Bosa did not sign the team's most generous offer. Then yesterday, the team put out another press release via their own website announcing they've signed Bosa. According to NFL Network, Bosa's deal, 4 years, $25.8 million, all guaranteed with a $17 million signing bonus. Other AFC West news breaking yesterday, Trevor Siemian, who has played just one NFL snap, is named the Week 1 starter for the Broncos. Oh, Stephen A., what are your expectations for the AFC West now?
My expectations for the AFC West is that Kansas City will win the division. That's what I expect. I don't expect Denver to win it because don't tell me. I mean, I'm watching Greeny this morning all giddy about the fact that one of his Northwestern boys, you know, he got a starter in the NFL for the first time since 1955. Congratulations, since Otto Graham. Back then, congratulations. I wish you nothing but the best, but I don't expect them to do much. I understand that Denver's defense is elite, but losing Malik Jackson, losing Danny Trevathan, I'm not sure about Denver's defense. I think they will be very good. I don't know if they will be as great as they were last year, and their offense is certainly not something that I expect a lot out of them. Trevor Siemian proves me wrong. God bless him. I wish him nothing but the best. I certainly am not rooting against him, but I got to see it to believe it. We all know that Kubiak loves to, run his, his zone blocking and running schemes, and we know that that's primarily what it's going to be about, which is why he matched the offer from Miami for C.J. Anderson and kept him in Denver. Demaryius Thomas has something to prove. Emmanuel Sanders can ball. We get all of that. But Trevor Siemian, I'm sorry. I mean, you were drafted in the 7th round for a reason in 2015, and then you didn't throw a football all of last year. So essentially, you're a rookie. You still wearing diapers in football parlance, wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac. I ain't sold. I'm sorry, I can't see it. Then we get to San Diego because obviously you've got them getting Joey Bosa. Well, good luck with that. I hope he's ready to go, but I didn't think much of San Diego to begin with. So why the hell should I feel any differently now? Maybe your defense will be a little bit better, but so what? I don't think it's going to get that much better. Then I think about Oakland. I like Carr. I love me some Amari Cooper, and Khalil Mack is the Mack. Okay, he's the Mack daddy. All right, and 2 years from now, when they got to pay up, I hope you listen. I had an Oakland official told me, literally, these were his words. He just said, get on your knees. I'm not going to repeat everything he said, but get ready to just give him the kitchen sink because Khalil Mack is going to demand that much money. But I still think that Oakland might come up just a touch short, not quite ready yet. We'll see. Kansas City has it all. And the reason why they've got it all is because you got personalities on defense. You kept Eric Berry, gave him the 1-year offer for over $10 million. He deserves it after the battles that he had and the way that he came out and played last year. Tom Ali's got to show up. Justin Houston, they've got to show up. Both of them are coming off of injuries, but I still expect Kansas City's defense to be better than serviceable. Offensively, you got a receiver that can catch touchdowns for a change in Jeremy Maclin. You got Kelsey as your tight end. And your running game, you're getting Jamal Charles back. Plus, you got Jacquandrick West and Spencer Ware and Alex Smith. No, he's not a game changer, but he doesn't beat himself. And so when you consider the minimal amount of turnovers that he puts forth out there, I just look at Kansas City right now with the coaching of Andy Reid, all right, having 2 offensive coordinators up in there, having a guy like Alex Smith who knows how to play this game and is clearly the quarterback for this team, and a stout running game because you got a 3-headed monster with your running game and at least 2 guys in your tight end and with Kelsey and your wide receiver. There is no excuse to me why the Kansas City Chiefs, who ended the season winning like 10 straight, plus they shut out Houston 30-0 in a playoff game. That's 11 straight before they lost to New England. I see no reason why the momentum should start now. Remember, Max, I think it's like 3 of their last 4 games are at Arrowhead. Okay, to close out the season.
Tough place to play.
Including Christmas Day against Denver. I just think this is there. In terms of the AFC West, you don't have to worry about Peyton Manning or anybody anymore. I think Kansas City wins this division.
Let's take it one at a time. You went over a whole lot. I mean, that was pretty exhaustive. Let's start with Kansas City. Good stuff. Let's start with Kansas City. It's their division to lose, and Alex Smith doesn't beat himself. And Alex Smith should be a great quarterback. He can do everything. He can run everything except throw the ball down the field. And while that ability is probably the least important, if you had to rank the abilities of a quarterback, maybe running is even less important than that. But the most important thing is, can you read defenses? Yes, he can. He can do all the things you want Those are the most important things. But an arm is a prerequisite. I remember a bunch of years ago, Chad Pennington, there were these articles about Pennington with the Jets talking about actually completion percentage is the most important thing, and these are the quarterbacks with playoff success, but he couldn't throw the ball down the field. He was not a Super Bowl quarterback. Similarly, Alex Smith does every single thing you need him to do, except the one thing he absolutely must be able to do if you want to win the Super Bowl. So therefore, yes, the Chiefs, for all the reasons you mentioned, are the class of the division, at least on paper, heading into the preseason. In addition, by the way, Andy Reid, he's in Philadelphia. They go to the NFC Championship game every single year. All of a sudden, he shows up in Kansas City, winning seasons every year. The guy knows what he's doing. But for all those reasons, and even more, it's the Chiefs, the class of the division. But who has the best chance to make hay once the postseason starts? If they can get in, that's the Raiders, because Derek Carr can throw the ball down the field. And Amari Cooper can certainly catch it. And you look at Carr, and you see, like, at one point,
Hold on. Yeah. What are you saying? Are you saying that the Oakland Raiders are going to win the division?
No, I'm saying the Chiefs should win the division. If the Raiders can somehow get in as a wild card, for example, they are more likely to do better in the postseason, in the playoffs, than the Chiefs. Carr has his 53 touchdowns, first 2 seasons, second most in NFL history to Dan Marino. Now, I understand it's a different era. If Marino was playing today, he'd have 168 touchdowns in his first 2 seasons. I'm not saying Carr is Marino, but the kid is very good. He can play, and he has an absolute stud at receiver to throw the ball to. The Broncos are going to regress. They're the one team in the division that really doesn't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. Even with Osweiler, they wouldn't have had a quarterback. But as it is, they don't have one, and it's unlikely that their defense is as good as it was last year, even if they retained everyone, because they had an all-time great defense last year. Very few teams have been able to repeat that season over season. Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders will help with Simeon or whoever's throwing the ball because they are elite receivers. You got 2 of them. But the Broncos should come back to the pack. The Chiefs are the class of the division. The Raiders have a good chance to make hay in the postseason if they can get in. The Chargers are dead last year, Stephen A. Phillip Rivers is he's a great quarterback whose defense is not good enough. Certainly it wasn't last year, not on paper this year to do much. And the defensive piece, the key defensive piece they added, they played hardball with the negotiation, so he misses training camp, he misses preseason. He's not going to be as effective as he otherwise would have been. The guy who maybe could have helped that defense get good enough, get their head above water enough to actually let Rivers do his thing on offense, let that carry the day. They retarded the progress of that asset by playing hardball in a negotiation. It didn't make any sense. I think the Chargers shot themselves in the foot. I think they're last in the division.
So why do you think? So you think they're last in the division because of Joey Bosa? I thought they was last in the division whether it was Joey Bosa or not.
I think.
What is it?
I think had Bosa had enough time in the preseason,
hold on. Are you acting like Joey Bosa was going to make a difference?
Maybe a tipping point. Maybe a tipping point.
So what?
If you can get
the second coming of J.J. Watt? Is that what you're about to tell me?
But if you can get from 27th overall in defense to 20th to 19th, something like that, if you can just keep your head above water on defense, Phillip Rivers is not good enough. He's great enough to get the job done.
Phillip Rivers is all right.
Phillip Rivers is a great quarterback.
Listen, he's tier 2. Come on now. Let's not act like we talk about Tom Brady here or Aaron Rodgers. Phillip Rivers, there have been moments where he has struggled. There has been a lot of moments where he's come up short. It's not all everybody else. Don't get me wrong. He's the star, and Phillip Rivers can play, and I got nothing but respect for him. But let's not talk about him like he's the second coming. You need to stop that.
That draft class, I know you're Mr. Ben Roethlisberger. So am I.
Yes, I am.
He's a great.
It's nice to know that you know that.
He's a great quarterback.
It's nice to know that you know that.
Roethlisberger's a great quarterback, but that draft class has become underrated because Eli and Rivers aren't always the sexy quarterbacks to talk about. But when you look at the draft, and Roethlisberger, I think, went 10th overall in that draft, and Rivers went 4th, and Eli went 1st. That draft is a great draft for quarterbacks. Those are 3 not good but great quarterbacks, and Rivers absolutely belongs in that conversation with Roethlisberger and Eli.
That would depend. Listen, we all understand that it's a team game. We understand that, one player doesn't make or break you. The flip side to it, however, is that you are the quarterback, which would happen to be the most important position. And how relevant have the San Diego Chargers been in recent memory? Yes, he did pass for 4,700-plus yards. Yes, he did throw 29 touchdowns and just 13 interceptions. But it was just 29 touchdowns. I mean, he could have done better. These are not earth-shattering numbers.
So would it surprise you to know he led the league in completions last year?
You know, some dipping,
people forgot.
Y'all must have forgot. I mean, what do you want, a cookie? What do you want, a cookie? I mean, listen.
In the words of Roy Jones, y'all must have forgot.
Listen, no. Phillip Rivers has never played in the Super Bowl. You know, did he make one Super Bowl? I don't think he played in the Super Bowl. No, he didn't. We're not used to seeing the Chargers. Last time we saw him in the Super Bowl when they played San Francisco,
in the playoffs.
You know what happened? He played hurt in the playoffs. All I'm saying is, San Diego, Joey Bosa is not going to make that much of a difference in my estimation. Not this first year. He could play.
My point is not that if Joey Bosa the contract would have gone through, they would have made the playoffs. That's not my point. My point is for a team that needs all the help they can get on defense, as evidenced by their performance last year, on a team where the offense is not the problem, and in a division that's very tough, where the defending Super Bowl champions, a team that's gone to 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls and just won and beat a 15-1 team doing it, by the way, when that team is considered maybe the second best team in your division, and there are 3 teams where you look at them, you go, damn, all those teams look better than the Chargers. You need all the help you can get. There's a reason you're picking 3rd overall. And they didn't optimize what that meant for them. In fact, they minimized it, and now I believe they will pay the price.
I'm just looking at some numbers. San Diego hasn't made the playoffs 5 of the last 6 years. Let's put that in perspective.
They haven't made it under Michael
even though Eli Manning is sort of under similar circumstances, he does have 2 Super Bowl rings on his resume. Phillip Rivers has none. That's number 1. Number 2, if you look at San Diego's defense, 14th against the pass, 27th against the rush. Defending the run is a problem. Their biggest problem is offensive.
Bosa's good defending the run.
Time out. Their biggest problem is running the football offensively. They were second to last. They were second left. So they go out and they get a defensive end. When you desperately need a running game, they go out and they get a defensive end. So they had an opportunity to have an Ezekiel Elliott, and they passed up.
Well, that's not going to help you if you can't block for the run.
Well, wait a minute.
Their problem is they can't block for the run.
I see. So they can't block for the run. So let's go there and shore up our offensive line.
Yep.
All right. Don't be able to block for the run. And your most valuable asset, which is Phillip Rivers, you make no effort to protect him.
But the point
that's your remedy?
But the point is, you're right about their running game, but overall their offense isn't the problem. Although specifically on their offense, the running game is the problem, which also involves offensive line play. But the defense, and particularly stopping the run, is nearly worst in the NFL. 27 out of 32. You're bottom of the NFL. You get an asset that's supposed to help you, especially block for the, defend the run, and you do the least you can in the preseason with them to save $1 or really to set precedent in a contract.
Back-to-back losses in the final 5 weeks of the season at Denver and Kansas City. San Diego was held to 3 points.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there.
But their offense, okay.
Their defense
so both of you are rolling with Kansas City. That's how Vegas sees it as well. I'm rolling with the silver and black. Just win, baby.
Yeah, that's just,
when we come back, whatever. No, really? Really? Do I like the color of the uniforms or do I like football? Don't go there. Don't go there. Did Russell Westbrook take a shot at his former teammate Kevin Durant? You don't want to miss his latest commercial after the break.
Yes, you love your
Some run, some make runways. From Jordan.
I like it. Time for takeoff, folks. Some run, some make runways. That was Russell Westbrook's new Jordan commercial. Just to be clear, Kevin Durant, also a Nike athlete, but not under that Jordan umbrella. Oh, Stephen A., how should Kevin Durant feel about this new commercial?
Oh, he should take it as a slap in the face because that's exactly what it was. I mean, Jordan won't admit it. Russell Westbrook may or may not admit it, but that's exactly how you take it. Some run. I mean, forget the runway part. Some run.
Yeah.
No, that there is no question.
So good.
There is no question. And first of all, it was a fabulous commercial.
So good.
It's a fabulous commercial.
So impactful.
They probably did it knowing that we was going to talk about it. Way to go, MJ, and way to go, Russell Westbrook. Because let me tell you something. When you say some run, now, Russell Westbrook got to approve that. You understand what I'm saying? Russell Westbrook got to prove that. And see, that's that dog in him. That dog, I mean, that's a compliment. That's that dog in him right there, okay? So I definitely think that if you're Kevin Durant, you got to take it the way that it was meant to be taken. It is definitely a slap at Kevin Durant. It is definitely accusing him of running. It is definitely bringing into focus that Kevin Durant didn't stick around to finish the job after he assisted in an epic collapse that only 8 teams in NBA history have suffered from. That means being up 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals for all of you folks out there, or the Conference Finals, and then losing that lead in the playoff series, 1 game away from the NBA Finals. That is what transpired. And there is no other way to slice that. Now, if you're Russell Westbrook, beware, because Kevin Durant may very well have a response. But what I love about this, we have no doubt that Russell Westbrook's going to have his response. I mean, look, one of the things, and I'm not very excited. It's rare that I'm not excited about an NBA season.
Yeah.
We all know how disgusted I am because I think that Kevin Durant, he's so great of a player that his arrival in Golden State absolutely shifts the balance of power. And we'll get into Kobe and him talking about competitors and not being afraid and all of this other stuff. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. But there is no doubt that when you talk about fear and when you talk about being scared, these are not things that will ever be associated with Russell Westbrook. No. You scratch that.
Or MJ.
You scratch that. Well, MJ has we're not even bringing up MJ. I mean, he's retired and people should still be scared of him. Okay? But with Russell Westbrook, I mean, this Lord have mercy. He don't care. I mean, I will admit, I saw this commercial and I smiled because I said something to look forward to other than the finals, something to look forward to other than June, okay? Something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to watching this man, go run roughshod throughout the league. Russell Westbrook's going to have an attitude. He's coming. And Kevin Durant had better come as well. I know he will because he's too great not to, but Russell's coming, and I love that. This commercial said that to me. So well done, yeah. This commercial said that to me.
It's obviously a shot at Durant. And how should Durant take it? Just like this. Okay, everybody, Westbrook, basketball fans, whoever it is, take shots now. Because when the season starts, I'm going to make shots. You know who's going to take the last shot on the Warriors? Oh, who's going to take the last shot? Westbrook or Durant? That was a big... And OKC, who's the alpha? Who's this? Who's that? The open man is going to take the last shot on the Warriors.
No, I'm so excited. It's so exciting to say that. So excited to hear that,
That's why Kevin Durant
I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled that
he's playing ball in OKC. He's like, it doesn't have to be this hard. Why can't we just play ball the right way? Whoever has it. So, while the commercial is great, and Russell Westbrook is my favorite player, he is a great player who is great precisely because he plays with a chip on his shoulder. You can see it in the way he plays. And now that chip is even more energizing to him.
It's a boulder.
Obviously. And by the way, their team ain't bad. It's not like they have a bad team, and Westbrook is about to go crazy. You're absolutely correct. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I root for him. This is on brand. Also, you bring up Michael Jordan and then Kobe Bryant. In many ways, it's Westbrook who's the inheritor of that Jordan Kobe lineage, that killer, I just want to win.
Assassin.
Don't tell me anything else.
Stop. I'm not going to listen to that blasphemy.
Go ahead.
We're going to stop that. You may be right, talent-wise, but keep in mind, you didn't hear too much about Kobe and MJ until you saw the chip. You don't get to get met. That's right. We saw Kobe come into the league, and we knew what he wanted to be. The walk, the strut, how he sauntered, the kind of game he tried to emulate. But in the end, it was really irrelevant, and it didn't gain steam until the championships arrived. Remember, he got in the league in 1996, had a ring 4 years later. My point to you is that with Russell Westbrook, as much as I agree in terms of that alpha dog mentality that he has, what I mean by saying blasphemous is I'm going to stop you from going any further until we get the chip. I don't want any comparison to Kobe or MJ without rings. That's all I'm saying. Without rings.
But that's two separate things. I said that he's the inheritor of that Jordan Kobe spirit, that competitive spirit. When you say, oh, we didn't hear much from Jordan before the ring, Stephen A.
I said Kobe.
Well, no, you said Jordan and Kobe, as a matter of fact.
I said Kobe.
You want to rewind the tapes?
I said Kobe. I thought I said
All right, carry on. We'll keep going.
Yeah, but even Kobe, when he was lighting Jordan up when Jordan was in Washington, pre-rings, all we heard about was Kobe Bryant.
No.
Kobe Bryant was taking the league by storm before he got any rings.
No. Kobe came into the league out of Lower Merion. We knew that Jordan was his idol. We talked about him and the fact that he got drafted by the Charlotte Hornets, but stolen by Jerry West, night of the draft, and ended up in a Los Angeles Lakers uniform, made noise because Shaquille O'Neal had been stolen by Jerry West from the Orlando Magic in the middle of the night because Jerry West, being a brilliant executive that he was, pulled it off. So you thought about Shaq, Kobe. You saw Kobe and the potential, so you did mention it. But at the same time, what I'm saying is where it gathered steam was that Kobe was on the come up. You knew what he was idolizing and what he was shooting for, but it really took off when he captured it. Now, Russell Westbrook has been in the league for how many years? 7, 8 years? He still doesn't have that ring. And I'm simply saying, out of deference and respect to the greatness of MJ and the Black Mamba, spirit and all aside, in the end, I don't give a damn about your spirit if you don't have the credentials to back it up.
I'm not saying he's as good as Jordan or Kobe.
Let me say this to you.
You know why? He's not 6'6".
Wait a minute.
That's the reason
I got news for you. If Russell Westbrook wins a chip, let me tell you something right now. Are you ready for this? Are you ready to faint?
Yes.
As great as Kobe was, as athletic as Kobe was.
Don't be wrong twice in the same segment.
Well, I'm never wrong. But the point is, as athletic as Kobe was, y'all trying to tell me he was more athletic than Russell Westbrook?
No.
Oh, not at all.
No.
Not at all. So what I'm trying to say to you is that even though Russell Westbrook may be an inch or two shorter, in the end, what it comes down to, and not three. You ever stood next to Russell Westbrook? He is not 3 inches shorter than Kobe. Trust me on this. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that when you look at Russell Westbrook and what he brings to the table, I've got no questions about his talents or his abilities. I am saying your resume does not warrant you being mentioned in the same sentence as Kobe.
And yet,
or
here
MJ.
I go. He is the inheritor of that competitive spirit. But, of course, he's not on their he's not Michael Jordan level. There's no one is. Or Kobe Bryant level. Very few have ever been. But he has that same, you could see when he plays, that same fire. The way I put it, if Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant had a baby, it'd be Russell Westbrook. The point is, he's still in a situation where he's got no shot to win a championship this year. And Kevin Durant, in the short term, my point is, everyone gets your shots off at Kevin Durant right now. Have your fun now. Make fun of him now. Because once the season starts, once the season is finished, he will have the last
And my point to you
I liked your one-liner earlier.
That's what Kevin Durant has ruined. Because when you say once the season starts, if you say once the season starts with Chicago, you know what you say? Wait till you see what MJ does. Once the season starts with the Lakers, wait till you see what Kobe does. Once the season starts with the Warriors, oh, the open man will get it.
Yes.
There's just something that's missing from that.
Is there something?
As a basketball lover, you don't understand.
Yeah,
you don't appreciate what I'm saying. You don't understand.
The
last time, hold on.
My heart's hurting.
Hold on.
And my heart's hurting.
Hold on.
And you're not being sensitive.
And when
This
Stephen
is-
A.
this
got
is
happy,
a
we're all
timeout.
not
This is
happy.
my heart's hurting.
This isn't
Come
timeout.
on.
I'm teeing you up. This isn't timeout. I'm teeing. Hold on. You, who decry every day on this show. Oh, last time the Knicks won a championship, I was 5 years old. Everyone on that team wrote a book because it was such a smart team, right? You know what the most famous book was? Dave DeBusch's book, entitled The Open Man. That's why that team is celebrated, because they played it the right way, just like the Spurs do nowadays. They
All right,
play it the
Larry
right
Brown.
way.
All right, Larry Brown. It's always good to talk to you, Larry Brown. Oh, Steven, you don't understand, Steven. I mean, just he's got to play the right way. Who can look, man? Like I said,
Play it the wrong way.
You look forward to MJ. You look forward to Kobe. You look forward to LeBron. You look forward to Steph Curry. Here comes Kevin Durant.
Can I say
now
something?
here we go. Oh, the open man is gone. I mean, we know this.
Can I say
we
something?
know
Yes.
it, but
That's
my
why.
God.
That's
I mean,
why. What
man.
Stephen A. What you're saying is why Westbrook's my favorite player. Because I know we heard open man, whatever. Let me see a Russell Westbrook. But it's also the reason why Kevin Durant's going to win a championship before Russell Westbrook.
I saw
We
MJ
gotta
pass
move
it.
on.
I saw MJ pass it to Paxson and
Well, yeah, Phil Jackson. So did
Wait a
Kobe.
minute. I know, but what I'm saying is I saw him pass it to those guys. We know the open man's going to get the ball. I get it. I'm just saying, damn, that's what we got to look forward to.
Want
it just messed up everything. Kevin Durant messed up everything. He messed up
Can we move on, gentlemen?
Everything.
All right. So some run, some make runways, and some make pit stops. Ezekiel Elliott is apologizing for a pit stop, or should I say pot stop, he made while in Seattle. The guys will react to that after the break. And Tony Romo out. Will Dak Prescott win the job? Stephen Jones didn't shut the door on that possibility. We will react to that one. Surprising later in the show. Cowboys rookie running back Ezekiel Elliott was criticized by his owner and head coach after he visited a marijuana dispensary during the Cowboys' trip to Seattle to play the Seahawks in the preseason. Elliott addressing the situation yesterday. I seen it walking around and I was curious. I didn't really think about what the repercussions could have been. It wasn't like I was trying to hide anything. I took pictures with people. It wasn't like I was up to no good. I was curious. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I wasn't breaking any law. It was a bad decision, something I shouldn't have done. Max?
Yeah.
Does Elliott owe the Cowboys an apology?
No. Furthermore, it's none of the Cowboys' business, in my opinion. As I've been saying oftentimes, the NFL has a lot of nerve being hypocritical enough to test for marijuana, to choose to do that when they are in bed with companies that peddle alcohol. They take they take money, they play commercials, hey, drink this, and in every study, it's always certainly societal effects. Alcohol's worse than marijuana. Besides all that, I don't want to get on a soapbox about that. Ezekiel Elliott was in a state in which dispensaries are legal. He went to visit a dispensary. He didn't purchase any marijuana. What is the difference between that and being from a state where betting at the track is illegal? You play for the Vikings or the Colts or the Falcons or the Chiefs, any state where you can't bet on the horses, and you go to a track, to watch the horse race, and there's betting there, you don't bet. Like, it's the same thing. Why should he feel bad about going somewhere and checking it out? A perfectly legal establishment in a state in which it's legal when he is not partaking, when he is not buying it or doing anything illegal. To call it an innocent mistake is one thing, but I don't even see how it's a mistake.
Max Kellerman, let me be very, very clear when I say this, and I'm going to be very, very serious when I say this. I think what you just said was very irresponsible. I'm accusing you of being irresponsible.
Let's hear it.
Here's the deal. We can sit up there and talk all we want about what should be. To hell with all of that. What is it? Marijuana is illegal, except for in 4 states in the United States of America. They would happen to be Colorado, they would happen to be Washington, it would happen to be Oregon, and it would happen to be Alaska. Last time I checked, Ezekiel Elliott ain't in those places. He plays for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, he was in Seattle, if I remember correctly, or someplace in Washington.
Seattle,
when he decides to go into, what is it, a marijuana dispensary?
It's a dispensary.
Okay, look, do you realize, think about this for a second. Let's just take this. Ezekiel Elliott plays for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
Well, do I need to go down the list?
No.
Randy Gregory, Rolando McClain, DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, who did I miss? I mean, weed everywhere. Puff and pass, puff and pass. They puff more than they pass, okay?
Oh,
because
that was good. That was really
Tony
good.
Romo is sitting up there. He's injured. All right, Dak Prescott is a rookie. So, I mean, a legitimate argument can be made that they have puffed more than they have passed. You have the issue of perception. If the perception is you are an organization that is out of control, that you need to be reeled in, where you have people calling for the National Football League to potentially get involved because of the behavior of so many individuals from this particular organization. You come out of Ohio State. You're the #4 overall draft pick. You get drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, okay? The eye of the storm is on you because they are America's team, right? I mean, last time I checked, even though they're walking pieces of mediocrity, can't win but once every 20 years, haven't had a Super Bowl longer than that, okay? And got the nerve to walk around like they're the most popular team in the world and they're deserving of it when all they do is steal headlines, more than wins, by the way. And you're sitting up there, you have this history where you're constantly associated with these things. This is what you do. See, this is the problem. We're sitting up here on national TV. And we're so busy talking about the way things ought to be. Steve Spurrier is about to come on this show, okay? We all know what a winner he is, okay? What are you doing? You going to walk into his program? Where was that, Florida or South Carolina? Well, Coach, you know what? I get what you're saying. But, you know, we got endorsements with alcohol companies. Why can't I smoke some weed?
So a college kid is the same as a professional adult?
Listen to where I'm going. What I'm saying to you is this. Before you go pro in football, you got to go through college. We don't need to be on national TV acting like you get to do what you want to do just because you want to. I'm not sitting there and saying to you that weed should be something that's tested for. What I'm addressing is the reality of it.
Okay.
If you know that's what's required of you, what the hell are you
Where's
doing?
the irresponsible? I'm irresponsible. Where's the irresponsible?
Because you're sitting up there talking about how they shouldn't even be tested.
Right.
And
Which you disagree with?
And by the way, well, no, because this is my point to you. That's not the point. It doesn't matter whether I agree with you or not. The point is, it doesn't matter because the rules say what they say. You're Ezekiel Elliott.
What do the rules say?
Excuse me, you can't use marijuana and oh, wait a minute. And the perception.
You said it was legal in 4 states, right?
And
was he in one of those states?
Yes.
Okay.
But
did he break the law?
Time out. Who was he with?
Did he break the law?
Who was he with? Who was he? He was there. He was on a road trip. He was on a road trip with the Dallas Cowboys. He's a member of the Dallas Cowboys.
So does the league test to see if you've visited a dispensary but not bought or smoked marijuana?
If I'm the league, you know what I could do?
What test is that?
If I'm the league, you know what I could do?
What?
I could decide that I'm going to test you. I'm going to test you. You see what I'm saying? I could decide that.
Well,
not only
if he tests clean, he's fine.
There's also the issue of the headlines having another one of their players associated with weed. How does that benefit the Dallas Cowboys?
So let me ask you this.
How does that benefit the Dallas Cowboys?
Let me ask you this. How is that different than if he was reading High Times magazine? Would that also be a bad thing if he was reading a magazine? Because what's the difference? He's in a state where the dispensary is legal. He visits it, doesn't buy it, doesn't smoke it. He did something wrong.
Reading a magazine.
What's the difference?
What I'm saying to you is this.
It's associated with weed.
You're on a road trip.
Can he listen to Snoop?
Dallas Cowboys.
If he has Snoop in his earbuds, did he break some unwritten rule?
You can sit up there and use that as an example. But I gave you a bevy of examples of Dallas Cowboy members who have violated league policy.
That's not him.
But the problem is that you are reminding everybody of that by doing what you did. Excuse me, did he apologize?
He did.
So why he apologize?
Because he's a rookie and he's trying not to make waves.
Exactly. So what the hell you doing for in the first place for?
Because he wasn't thinking it would make waves. And my point is, it shouldn't be making waves.
He wasn't thinking.
No.
So you're not thinking, as a Dallas Cowboy, that you going into a weed dispensary is going to make waves?
Well,
really?
Not the most.
Really?
Let's put it this way. In Madden, if he was a quarterback, his quarterback awareness wouldn't be the highest rated of all time, for sure.
All right.
But if you go to a state where something is legal and you go to observe it and don't even partake or interact in any transactions in that establishment, you have to apologize for that? Okay, NFL apparently controls every part of your life.
And by the way,
it's just a learning trip.
By the way, because I know we got to go.
Just going to learn.
Listen,
Check it out.
By the way, listen, you don't go to McDonald's and just smell a Big Mac. You're looking to buy it, okay? Here's the reality of the situation. If you're going to a weed dispensary, chances are you're interested in some weed. Okay, I'm just saying. I mean, far be it for me to deduce, to exercise a speck of intelligence and deduce that might have been your intention. Yeah. Good luck with that.
All right.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Are you not entertained? You guys are on fire today. Stephen Jones doesn't close the door on the possibility of Dak Prescott potentially winning the starting job. We want you guys to weigh in on Twitter. Do you give Dak Prescott any shot of winning that job when Tony Romo returns? We will reveal those results a little later in the show. Meanwhile, Stephen A. alluded to it. Football royalty in the house here. The head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, up next.
I like this man.
So much to discuss with him. We
it's
all do.
Good to see him.
And he wrote a book, add author to that resume. Steve, coming up after the break. Hello.
All right, man.
They're out of control today. We need you to get them in check.
You know, you just need to say what you think sometimes. Quotes. What kind of quotes you need today, huh?
Winning the SEC probably is harder than winning the national championship.
Can't use athletes make millions of dollars and they get nothing. Wait a minute, though. That's what we do, though, isn't it? Oh, okay. That is the Death Valley, isn't it? Or is there another one around? Yeah, there's two of them. That's right, there's two Death Valleys. Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, we had a sorry practice for the offensive guys. They looked pretty pitiful. We praise them, and we yell at them. That's called coaching. First of all, I'm resigning. I'm not retiring. Get that part straight.
Sorry practice, classic material. Our next guest is the only coach who has earned the winningest record at 2 different SEC schools, leading the Florida Gators to 6 SEC championships and a national title, along with elevating the South Carolina program to new heights. He's also the only person who has won both the Heisman Trophy as a player and a national title as a coach, along with playing and coaching in the NFL. And now he adds author to that lengthy resume. The head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, with us today. Thank you so much for being here. And we got your new book here, which we will discuss shortly, if people can check that out there. But I want to start with the Heisman race, since you've won one, right? 3 clear candidates as of right now: Deshaun Watson, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey. Coach, who do you like?
I like all of them. I really like Deshaun Watson, the Clemson quarterback. He's a class young man. Of course, I like McCaffrey, too. I mean, they all could win. Leonard Fournette, he didn't run far against Alabama, but against everybody else, now he went up and down the field. So I think whichever team, you know, wins their first 10 or 11 games and they're sitting there like that, well, he will be the favorite.
You stepped away from the game as a coach after a 2-4 start last year, but the previous 4 years you won a bowl game and had 2 very successful years, 3 actually, 2011 to 2013, where you won 11-2 each year. I want to know how much, what is it like for you, rather, right now, watching the game and not coaching?
Well, Stephen A., mentally, I prepared for this, I think. I really do. I knew I couldn't coach forever. Very fortunate to go 30 years as a head coach. People ask me all the time, how'd you last so long? And my comment's usually, well, I didn't get fired, is usually why. And and we won. We won, we didn't cheat, and hopefully the ability to get along with people helped me to last that long. But fortunately, my alma mater, University of Florida, got me back as an ambassador consultant. I get to hang around football practice a little bit. Coach McElwain, he'll ask me a few questions, and I can make some suggestions, but that's about it. So anyway, so I got a team. I got the Gators, and, you know, I still pull for South Carolina, pull for Duke. But Florida is my school now, and I'm fortunate to be associated with them.
Why was it important for you to write the book now, Coach?
Well, I heard one time somebody said, if you don't write your book and tell your story, somebody else will. So I've had a few books written about me. Most of them are really pretty good, but some of them are not all accurate. So this is, in my words, Buddy Martin, who's written some books for Terry Bradshaw and did one with Urban Meyer, is my writer. I've known him for close to 50 years. So it's an accurate book. It's my story. It's how a guy that somehow or another played 10 years in the NFL and somehow or another got to be a coach. You know, they don't have a coaching college or a coaching school where you go to learn how to coach. Here's my degree. I'm ready for a job. You got to know somebody to give you a job. And then if it doesn't work out very well, you better know somebody else that'll give you another job. And I was so blessed early in my career. I worked for 2 coaches that got fired, and I looked like I was finished. I didn't know anybody. But Doug Dickey hired me, and then Pepper Rogers, and then Red Wilson at Duke University. And why do I love Duke University so much? They hired me twice when they had no job. So that's one of my favorite schools, certainly.
You talked about writing the book because if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. Talk to me first about what is it that you wanted people to know about you that they otherwise didn't know.
I think, Stephen A., just how fortunate and blessed I was all the way through, really, my life. Growing up, a kid in East Tennessee, my dad was a Presbyterian minister. I always had small churches. So, I mean, he raised 3 kids on about $4,000 to $5,000 a year, which was plenty because we didn't need a lot of money. But then we moved to Johnson City, a bigger town, play the highest level of high school competition. So I was able to go through there, play football, basketball, baseball. And then Ray Graves offered me a scholarship to come to Florida. And just some choices in life and some sort of miraculous, some people call them divine appointments, where you just say, thank you, Lord. We won this game that led to this.
Opening doors.
You know, in sports, you win that one crucial game. Sometimes you start losing again. But if you win that big upset and then you go on and win a conference championship, that's really special and something you remember for a lifetime.
What portrayal of you has been most inaccurate and most annoying to you of all the things that have been said about you over the years?
I try not to pay too much attention to to all of that because I read in one of the Attila the Hun leadership books that the more success you have, the more criticism you'll get from your enemies, your opponents. So I really haven't let that too much bother me, and I really think I've got really all good friends in the coaching business. Even the Georgia fans sort of like me now because I'm finished coaching. Some of the FSU fans may still be a little upset because of what happened that last year when, actually 20 years ago, when they tried to knock Danny Warfel out of the game. They tried to hurt quarterbacks, and I just didn't think that was part of the game, so I said something about it. And fortunately, we got the rematch with them there in the Sugar Bowl. But I think it's a pretty accurate book, and it's just, there's a lot of blessings and good fortune that I was able to have along the way.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. Before we let you go, I wanted to get your thoughts. Earlier, we were discussing Colin Kaepernick sitting during the national anthem. If he was on your team, how would you have handled that?
I would say he has a right to do what he has to do, and sometimes it's not up to all of us to agree or disagree. But that's something that he wanted to express, and that's what he did, and he certainly got the attention of the world doing it. I remember when I first got the job at South Carolina, I was at a function, and I said, we need to take that dang flag down in front of our Capitol, the Confederate flag. I said, it does no good for our state. And, oh, man, you can't talk about that. You can't. Well, if somebody asks me, I'm going to give my opinion. And fortunately, well, not fortunately, but unfortunately, a terrible event caused the flag to come down just last year.
Real quickly, what about your thoughts? You came over here and commented immediately following our segment about Ezekiel Elliott. You have no problems with him going to the marijuana dispensary? I mean, what are your thoughts about that, sir?
On a game trip.
Yeah, let me tell you, Stephen A., what I always told our team. I said, fellas, if you want to smoke pot, you can't play on this team. Simple as that. And you just can't do it. It's against the rules. And I'm not here to debate whether it's right or wrong, but you can't smoke pot and play college football. And when your playing days are over, if you want to go smoke pot, I can't control that. But as long as you're on this team,
got to follow the rules.
Yeah, and we're going to have drug tests, and that's just a rule, so you got to get used to it. The NFL guys, I don't know if they got ways to get around it. I don't know all the answers, but don't blow your career by, breaking the rules.
Yep.
Okay.
Coach, thank you so much. Again, check out his book, Head Ball Coach, My Life in Football, in stores now. Always great to see you. Thank you so much for the time. When we come back, almost everyone has now reacted to Colin Kaepernick's protest, but what should the NFL do about it? That's what we'll be discussing next.
Heisman Debate is brought to you by Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy.
He's within his rights, and he's telling the truth as he sees it. And I am with him 100%.
People say, oh, he has all this money, so he doesn't deal with those problems. Well, all the money in the world can't buy you freedom. Can't change your skin color.
You got to respect the man's opinion and as well as his actions. I definitely understand where he's coming from.
Voltaire so eloquently stated, I may not agree with what you say, but I'll defend until death your right to say it.
That flag gives you the right to do whatever you want, and I understand that. Anquan said that, and I agree with that. But at the same time, you have to show some respect.
You got to respect the flag, and you got to stand up with your teammates. It's bigger than just you.
When I think of the national anthem, I think of, what soldiers, what the soldiers that have died, for our rights.
As a service member, I have to understand it. I have to understand that obviously but he's an athlete. He's got a huge platform. He's got to see the impact that he has on a lot of people's lives.
Reaction to Colin Kaepernick's national anthem protest has clearly been pouring in over the last few days. The NFL releasing the following statement on Cap's actions. Players are encouraged but not required to stand during the playing of the national anthem. Max, what should the NFL do now?
Nothing, really. I mean, the NFL actually has a more enlightened policy about this than the NBA, which mandates that you stand for the national anthem. It's compulsory. Maybe the NFL, if they're going to do something, could make clear the difference between encouraging everyone to stand on the one hand, but not coercing them into standing on the other. If you listen to Jay Gruden's comments from earlier today about this subject, he is walking a fine line, in my opinion, between kind of encouraging his team to stand and saying, hey, I'm going to bring not just social pressure, but professional pressure to bear.
Jeff Fisher,
to make Jeff Fisher, too, to make you conform to this kind of behavior. But actually, the NFL has a fairly enlightened policy about this compared to the NBA, which is surprising when you consider who their commissioners are and the histories of those leagues. My question is this. Why do we play the national anthem at sporting events in the first place? I mean, I know the historical reason. It was popular. 1918 World Series, and people responded to it, and you're coming out of the First World War, and there's a sense of patriotism, but basically it's popular. The fans responded to it because patriotism is a great thing. Be patriotic toward this country. It is the greatest country in the world. But then over time, I don't even think it's because it's popular anymore, Stephen A. It's not that it's unpopular, but I don't think that's the reason we do it. I think it's because sports is a religion in this country, and we know that we will congregate, many Americans will congregate at sporting events. And if we don't play the national anthem there, I mean, that's where a lot of Americans hear it for the most part. Where else are you going to encounter the national anthem? So it's become a kind of American tradition at sporting events. But when you think about it, when you go to the movies, you don't sit through the national anthem or stand up for the national anthem before the movie starts. I mean, what other public gathering that you do, especially entertainment, where they play the national anthem? Although it's been told, and you know, that I haven't been to a country music concert, but apparently at country music concerts, they do play the national anthem. But at most concerts, they don't. At most other public gatherings, they don't. But it has become codified in the traditions of our sports culture that you hear it every time, and we just kind of accept it without even thinking, yes, now's the time that... But I suppose that we don't have to live in a place where they have to play it. We seem to like it.
Should we stop?
I think that I personally like the tradition. If you're asking me personally if we should stop, I like it. I like standing up because, like many Americans, that's where I'm encountering it. And if you don't hear it before a sporting event, where do you hear it? But I see a strong argument that says, look, we don't play it at the movies. We don't play it at most concerts, at any other real public entertainment gathering, and yet we play it before every sporting event in this country.
When Dwayne Wade was shooting baskets, it created an uproar because they were playing Toronto in the playoffs, and the Canadians obviously were highly offended. He felt the need to apologize. He meant no offense. Knowing the character of the man that he is, he certainly did not. But they, obviously, their flag means a great deal to them. Every nation that we encounter, their flag means something to them. So when we take that into consideration, why shouldn't our flag mean something to us? I don't know the answer, and bear with me on this, Max, because I'm not saying that I disagree with what you articulated. I'm simply saying that I'm not sure. When I listen to folks from the black community, particularly yesterday on news and sports talk radio, and you had so many black folks talking about what a lot of folks consider a racist history of the flag. First of all, I'm not informed enough to speak on that. So I'm willing to acknowledge that. But you know what jumped out in my mind? I've been around this earth for 48 years, and I never heard black folks complaining about the national anthem until yesterday. So where was the noise at that particular, for all of these other years? We know the history of the Star-Spangled Banner. We get where it comes from. We know that it was actually popular in America's national pastime, baseball, before it was indoctrinated into our culture legally by the federal government in 1931. So we understand that. But where was this uproar then? Then when we talk about our military, well, we have black folks who literally fought for the right to represent our country as military servicemen and women. Okay, what about then? If things were so offensive, then why were we doing it then? I'm just asking the question rhetorically. So I'm saying this to say to you this reality. When Colin Kaepernick speaks, or he spoke on this issue, there's a couple of things that alarmed me. He talked about, and I kind of wrote it down, he talked about when things change, he'll stand up. You know, meaning blacks not getting arrested, blacks not getting killed. What exact change are you talking about? And who exactly is supposed to institute and implement that change? It seems a very vague, vague situation that he's created where he's going to be able to make a definitive decision to stand up and salute or recognize the national anthem. Then we also have to take something else into consideration, which gives black folks who disagree with him, white folks who disagree with him, Latino folks and others who disagree with him, very salient points when they bring up this reality. Isolated actions by people should not condemn all Americans. There are millions upon millions of people who agree with Colin Kaepernick and other millions who don't. So you seem to be, striving for a perfect America. You're not going to accomplish that. You're not going to pull that off. And as a result, you're taking isolated incidences and you're essentially engaging in condemnation as it pertains to the United States of America. And I'm saying is when you do something like that, it becomes very offensive to other people. And that's exactly what you're addressing. So you're offended, you're upset, and your reaction is to do the same. I don't know. I really don't. But these are the kind of questions that need to be asked, because at the end of the day, when you take such a public position, exactly what is your point? To me, the reason why I would support Colin Kaepernick is because he specifically said police brutality. He specifically said, crimes that have been conducted against black people. Walter Scott getting shot in the back, Eric Garner getting choked, Castillo in Minneapolis getting shot by a cop while in the car with his fiancée and his 4-year-old child in the back seat. These are the kind of things talking about. Dylan Roof, who murders 9 people, but the cops come and get him and literally stop to get him Burger King. Okay, but black lives are, black folks are dying. When something like that happens and you bring up something that crystallized, I'm with you. But the vague statements that he has given off, now that's a challenge to me. That's a challenge to me.
It comes down to how much of a protest personality does Colin Kaepernick have, if we're talking about Kaepernick specifically. Is it that because there are some people, no matter what, the world isn't perfect and things haven't been remedied. They will never be perfect. It will never be perfectly remedied. We're talking about any part of life. And so they will continue to protest. And others who will say, okay, but we've come so far. I want to say this about the flag. You bring up the flag and the Star-Spangled Banner and what it represents. This debate, whenever it comes up, and it's come up in the past, it'll come up in the future, always comes down to, when you look at the flag, do you honor the fact that you get to protest and therefore stand up for the flag? I'm very patriotic. I have a very good feeling when I see the flag. I hear the Star-Spangled Banner because, hey, I live in a country that allows. But if we all always feel that way, and there are no Colin Kaepernicks, then all we're doing is paying lip service to the idea of our ability to have our right to free speech. Kaepernick is exercising that right to free speech.
I got it. But here's the flip side, as it specifically addresses the question of what the NFL should do. Now, you might say nothing. Here's the problem. Colin Kaepernick isn't sitting at home minding his business and decides to protest. He is putting on an NFL uniform. He is getting paid to play football, but he's also being paid to represent the shield. That shield generates billions of dollars a year from the patrons out there that you're talking about. And so we want to sit up here and act like there's no onus, there's no obligation, there's no responsibility to others while you got your hand out. Because remember, and I'm just asking questions here because I can fess up and acknowledge when I simply don't know where to go with something. But I am saying when you are a professional athlete, you are getting paid. Colin Kaepernick didn't sit there and give back his salary and say, I don't give a damn, don't pay me. This is the position that I took. He's taking this position while offending those very patrons he's taking money from to pay his salary to represent the shield. So if you're the NFL, I'm not saying they should do it, but if the NFL suddenly stood up and adopted the same mentality as the National Basketball Association by saying you have to stand for the national anthem because we have to show respect and deference to a nation of Americans who patronize our product, Well, that's a different argument. If the NFL makes that argument, I don't know if I can disagree with that.
I
don't know.
First of all, the NFL, in their rules, they encourage, it's not compulsory.
They don't. I said that.
Like Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who was fined because he had one game protest.
NBA mandates it, NFL does not. They encourage, but they don't mandate.
This country is about, another great thing about this country is the minority is protected from the tyranny of the majority, populism, and making rules and passing laws based on popular sentiment at the moment and passions at the moment is usually not a good idea. And I would even say, in the preamble to our Constitution, we the people, in order to make a more perfect union, you know how you make a more perfect union? By changing things. And again, the America love it or leave it crowd seems to fly in the face of that. And Kaepernick, in my opinion, honors our greatest traditions by protesting in this way.
And I'm saying to you, you may be absolutely right, which is why our federal government gets involved in a bevy of things. But the NFL is a private industry. It has the right, Max Kellerman, if it so chooses, to say, if you represent our product, these are our rules. Go back to the marijuana. You see, this shouldn't be tested. They said, we don't care what you think. This is what it is. And if you play in our league, this is how it's going to be. So America is about choices. And if you are Colin Kaepernick and the NFL decides that we are going to adopt the same mentality as the NBA, take it or leave it.
Two separate arguments.
What you going to do?
It's not two separate arguments. You're making the might makes right argument, or the fact that that's the reality, versus what should be. Yes, you're talking about the reality of the pressure that the league can bring to bear, including passing new rules.
I said if they did.
According to their rules right now, that's not the case. And I'm talking about
the question was, what should they do?
Right, what should they do?
Right.
And I'm saying nothing. I like their rule the way it is.
And I told you I agree, but what I'm saying is if you're Colin Kaepernick, you have to be mindful of the fact that that's a possibility because the NFL hasn't been confronted with this reality before.
So in other words, you have certain rights, even within the context of the league's rules, but careful when you exercise them ever, because as soon as you exercise them, there's a fear of them changing.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that's the world we were living in. We come to work every day feeling differently than our employers sometimes. But guess what? Who we work for. So what I'm saying to you is we have to make those decisions every day. Welcome to big boy and big girl world.
But what you're talking about is the first time someone chooses to exercise their rights within the context of the league rules. Careful, because they may change because one person decided to behave that way, which is within the rules.
I'm saying to you that September 11th is approaching. You can sit there and be as vague as you want to. September 11th is approaching. That is a very sensitive day.
For sure.
In America. And this happened on the eve of the opening of the NFL season on September 11th. It is not implausible that the NFL may decide to act in accordance with what they believe America is supposed to be about, as wrong as we might think that. And at that point, Colin Kaepernick may have to make a call.
And personally, I agree with you. If it's September 11th, of course, I want to see everyone standing up for the American flag, and I would feel very bad not seeing that. However, once again, the most important time to defend someone's right to do it is the least popular and most inconvenient time.
I agree with that.
Well said. Important and riveting conversation, gentlemen, but we do have to move on. When we come back, Kobe Bryant says nobody should be intimidated by the Warriors, but how would his Lakers team do against Golden State? That is a question. And Tony Romo out for 6 to 10 weeks. Do the guys give Dak Prescott any shot at winning the job when Romo returns? We get into that next. Stay here.
Debate of the Day is brought to you by Slim Jim. Have you been a responsible adult today? Stop it. Snap into a Slim Jim.
It is no secret that Kobe Bean Bryant feared no one during his 20-year career with the Lakers, including the 73-9 Warriors last season. So when Kobe heard about Kevin Durant joining Golden State, he never thought that the move was unfair for the rest of the NBA. Here's Kobe on the Jim Rome Show.
As a competitor, you have to look at that and say, okay, how can I have to figure out a way to take apart that team. And so now the challenge becomes, how do I find cracks within their system, within their personnel? How can I take them down? As a competitor, I would have thought less about myself if I looked at that move and said, that's unfair.
Right.
If you're a real competitor, you look at that and say, okay, lace them up. Let's go. I don't care how many players you have over there. We're still going to take you down.
Max, that brings me to my question. How would have Kobe's team done against the Warriors?
They'd have lost. My friend Rick Fox is going to kill me for this one.
Which team?
All the Lakers teams lose to this Warriors team.
All?
All of them.
You mean
blanket statement?
All of them.
Showtime?
Everyone.
You mean the 2000, 2001 Lakers team?
Yeah, everyone. But we're talking about Kobe's championship Lakers team.
Stephen A. said.
Now, I'm going to have to start by explaining the difference between better and greater.
Okay.
Are these Warriors teams greater than those Lakers teams? No. What's the difference? I'm going to go to track and field because track and field is purely objective.
Okay.
Better is measured by how fast you get from point A to point B. So take the 100-meter dash. The quicker the time, the better you are.
What?
So, you got to follow me.
Let him finish.
So every top 10 sprinter in the world today is better than Jesse Owens. You know how we know? Because opinions are taken out, and we can look at the time. Every single top 10 sprinter in the world today is better than Jesse Owens. How many are as great? None, one, something like that. The point is he fared better against his contemporaries than anyone except maybe Usain Bolt fares against his contemporaries. So you can say he's as great or greater, but you can't say he's as good. You can't say he's better than. We have the times to prove it. In the one sport you can measure objectively, you see everyone gets better and better and better. Now, how does this apply to the Lakers? Because Stephen A. sees Shaq and Kobe, and in their case, they may have also been, better in a kind of pure basketball sense. If you sent these Warriors back to that era, maybe the Lakers win. If you sent them both to a neutral era, maybe the Lakers win. But if they are playing basketball in 2016, you mean to tell me, let's take the 2000-2001 Lakers. That's the greatest incarnation of any team in Kobe's career, right? Iteration of it. It's when Shaq was the MVP and they were unstoppable. They went 15-1 in the postseason. They hit 439 threes that whole season. The Warriors hit 1,077. They more than doubled their total. So that team, no matter how you slice it, they're counting by two. These guys are counting by threes. There's no hand checking. You got zone defenses. You have the spread pick and roll. Now, if that team had time to prepare for this team a season long, they could tweak the roster, get three-point shooters, they could compete. But they're not going to beat a team that is better offensively, better offensive efficiency. That's by the numbers. They're better defensive efficiency, these Warriors teams. That's by the numbers. And you're simply not going to beat them counting by twos, Stephen A., no matter how you slice it. Don't pretend you're not amazed by those points. The only way to be not amazed is to not listen.
You shouldn't even be allowed to talk basketball after that comment. It's unbelievable to me. First of all, a couple of things that we have to take into consideration. We can't have it all. You can't have the players and the rules of today and all of this other stuff that comes along with it that allows you to qualify your statements by throwing in about 17 ifs before you come to your conclusion. We got to look at talent. And what I'm saying to you is this. You can sit up there and say, okay, the Warriors are unbeatable based on today's rules. Hell yeah. You know why? Because you can't touch them. If you sat up there and you had bad breath, all right, and you didn't take an Altoid, you might get called for 5 fouls, okay? So surely under those circumstances, yeah, they could win. But the reality is clear. When we look at these rosters, Max Kellerman, when we look at the rosters of the Los Angeles Lakers, let's take into account 2000, 2001. That Lakers team, that was, a lot
of good perimeter defenders on that team.
How about that? Yeah. How about that? Because, see, you forgot to bring that up. I'm not gonna forget. 15-1 in the playoffs. That's what they want. They had the most dominant force of the modern day era in Shaquille O'Neal. No answer. No answer.
No answer, but you counted by twos and ones, because sometimes it only hits one foul shot.
Wait a minute. But who's fouling him? Because you only got but so many fouls to give. It's going to be Klay Thompson collapsing, Draymond Green collapsing. You got Derek Fisher. I'm going to bring up Derek Fisher. Do you know why? Because you talk about somebody that would have been all up in Steph Curry, making him very, very uncomfortable. Oh, that would have been. And why would I bring that up? I would have never thought to bring that up before these playoffs. But what I saw happen to Steph Curry in the playoffs,
100%.
Particularly, so I'm not going to ignore that. I'm also not going to forget Ron Harper, who was a pretty damn good defender, who, by the way, had like a 6 to 7 inch height advantage over a Steph Curry, for crying out loud. At least a 5 inch.
I mean, you said he was hurt. That's why he had a bad series.
Wait a minute.
You said he was hurt.
That's not the point. That's not the point. What I am saying to you is this. When you look at their talent, okay, who you going to defend? We got questions about who Golden State's going to defend now. Who are you going to defend then? And by the way, I just said all of these things.
Where are they playing?
Hold on. Time out. I just said all of these things. I didn't even get to Kobe. I didn't even bring up Kobe. I didn't even get to Kobe yet. I'm talking about the Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba.
Yeah.
The Kobe Bryant that averaged 28. The Kobe Bryant who was a second-team all-defensive player. For 4 straight years, Kobe Bryant was either first-team or second-team all-defense. And you're going to put either Steph Curry or Klay Thompson in front of his face, and you think they're going to score?
I will
Kobe?
remind you.
Excuse me.
I will remind you.
Excuse me.
That the Phoenix Suns, with that primitive style that the Warriors have basically perfected, like the beginnings of the spread pick and roll, the Steve Nash, gave the Lakers run. This is them on steroids, so to speak.
With your nonsensical stuff for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Chill. That Kobe
Longest
stuff
5 minutes I ever had on this show.
That Kobe Bryant with those 5, you can say maybe you didn't deserve it. Maybe you didn't deserve it. The point that I'm trying to make to you is this. That was years later with Phoenix. We talking about 2000, 2001.
When are they playing? Are they playing today or are they playing then?
That's my point.
Yes.
You sat up there.
Today.
You sat up there today.
Yes.
My point to you is this. You can get called for a foul for having bad breath.
Right.
Kobe,
So you agree?
Shaq.
So you agree today they wouldn't win?
No. I don't agree with that.
Oh, so
Because what I'm saying to you is this. What I saw in the playoffs that was allowed was more emblematic of what took place years ago than what takes place in today's game. They're not beating the Los Angeles Lakers. They make it interesting, but they're not beating Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah. Shaq's counting by 2s and sometimes 1s. He only hits 1 out of 2. They're counting by 3s. It's math. It's arithmetic.
You know what? Okay. All right.
I mean, the Lakers.
From now on, you know what? I got a right to talk boxing.
I got a right to talk boxing. Possibility that Tony Romo could be done. Can you guys be quiet? As a starter in Dallas, Stephen Jones didn't dismiss. Do you see what I have to deal with, people? We'll be back.
First Take is brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Cowboys executive VP Stephen Jones didn't dismiss the possibility of Dak Prescott earning the starting job after Romo returns, telling Peter King of the Monday Morning Quarterback, I can't imagine a scenario where Tony's not our quarterback when he's ready, but things happen. You know that. You know what happened to Bledsoe and Brady. I'm sure Tony's aware of that, but the reality is Tony's going to come back for us and play great. We believe that. Jerry Jones said that he's still unsure about a timetable for Romo's return. Stephen A., how should Romo feel about Stephen Jones' comments I just shared?
Well, he should be worried. He should be worried because this is a business, and no matter how much they swear they love him, their mentality is that we gave you this contract for $120 million. You're constantly hurt. We get all of that. But more importantly, we're about headlines, and it's not just about Dak Prescott's play. He's captured the imagination of Cowboys fans, which means that if he performs in a regular season, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones will sit up there and hug Tony Romo, let him and his wife come over for dinner with the family, you know, sing Kumbaya, give him nice hugs and all that stuff, but they'll kick him to the curb in a heartbeat and won't think twice about it. That's what's going on here. That's basically what they're saying. And I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised because it is the Cowboys that we're talking about, and they are just as every bit concerned with headlines as they are with victory.
This is the reality of the NFL. You absolutely can lose your job to injury. That goes for any player ever, even the best quarterback in the league, even the MVP. And that's not Tony Romo, but it was Kurt Warner. He got his job because of an injury. He lost it because of an injury to Mark Bulger, because the team happened to be 8-0 at the time, and by the time he got healthy. And by the way, Kurt Warner had plenty of football left in him and was a better quarterback than Mark Bulger, but just because they were having success with Bulger, that was the end of Kurt Warner with the Rams. Like, if it can happen to the league MVP, one of the best quarterbacks you ever want to see and one of the best offenses ever, you better believe it can happen to Tony Romo.
Well,
and why shouldn't it? It's Tony Romo. It's not Kurt Warner. Tony Romo's a Super Bowl. Kurt Warner's a Super Bowl champion. Tony Romo's a guy that has 2 career playoff wins. You need to win 3 playoff victories at least just to win a Super Bowl 1 year. And Tony Romo has 2 victories in 10 years.
Want to hear what your favorite fans said about it? We asked you guys on Twitter, could Dak have a shot at winning the job when Romo returns? The results are in 61% saying that Dak does have a shot to win the job.
Nothing earth-shattering there.
It doesn't even have to be causal. It could just be correlation, like, well, he's playing and we're winning. Yeah, but we think Tony Romo's better at the moment. Let's not, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're winning with Dak. If that happens,
who says causal and correlation in the same sentence other than you? Causal and
Columbia grad to my left.
Yeah, it's correlated, but it's not causal.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. Where'd you graduate from?
Columbia.
All right, that's what makes you brilliant.
You guys want more NFL talk? Guess who's filling in on NFL Live today? Your girl. Tune in. Support me. Yeah, are you going to watch?
No.
Are you
That's
making,
why I don't,
you're not
I
going to
don't
watch?
on the NFL.
Oh, you
I'm
always
busy.
pull double duty.
I question those bona fides.
But you know what? I'll put my TV on so you can get credit for it.
Oh, thanks. Stephen A's going to DVR me and not watch.